Hello everybody, June here. Thank you for tuning in to another video. This is the August installment of the Mood Sewing Network post. For this month, I made the Kalle Shirtdress from Classic Core Patterns using this beautiful mint color tencel twill from Mood Fabrics, of course. And it's really hard to get this color in camera, both in like the tone of the actual color and the brightness of the color, because there's a contrast between the color and the brightness of the fabric with everything else around, and it's really hard to get it to look right. But trust me when I tell you that it is the most delightful mint color ever. And there is a blog post on my website where you can actually see a better rendition of the color than you can see here from what I can see on my monitor, so do go check that out. And let me start by saying that Mood Fabrics did provide me store credit to purchase this fabric, but all opinions are my own. They have not instructed me in what to say or anything of the sort. Everything that you hear here is my opinion and my opinion only. So let's start with the fabric because, as I said, it's pretty fantastic. I first came across this fabric on the Mood website when I was looking for my July fabric last month, but I didn't want to commit to this fabric without having seen it, and so I ordered a swatch, because when you order from Mood, after certain amounts you earn free swatches, and I had 4 free swatches for July, so I ordered 1. And when the fabric arrived, it was as gorgeous in person as it was on the website. It was really pretty. So then when time came to order my August fabric, I just went for it. And I initially had a different dress in mind, but when the fabric arrived, I realized that it was just too heavy and even too thick for that particular project. And that just goes to show you that even when you have a swatch of the fabric, it's really not the same as seeing the actual yardage, but it's better than nothing. And if I hadn't had a swatch, I don't know that I would have ordered this fabric, because I've worked with other viscose / tencel twills and they behave differently. They sew differently, even though they are similar fabrics. So yes, just because you have a swatch doesn't mean you're gonna have a perfect match for your project, but not having a swatch is even worse. So all that, bringing it back to the fabric. So when I realized that the fabric was too heavy, too thick for the project that I initially had in mind, I basically sat on it for like 3 weeks. I ordered the fabric the very first week of August because I didn't want to get to the point where I was last month at the last minute rushing to take pictures because I waited so long. I wanted to get it done and done, but hello, man, women / other people plan, and the universe laughs. So here I am again at the very end of the month trying to put this out. So I sat on the fabric for about 3 weeks. I essentially muslined a lot of dresses that I thought would go well with the fabric, but time and time again I decided that I wasn't really crazy about those projects and this fabric put together. In the back of my mind, I knew that this fabric really wanted to be a Kalle Shirtdress. It was just screaming Kalle Shirtdress, but I had just finished a different Kalle Shirtdress, also in a tencel twill, not from Mood, it's a separate fabric. And so I was really hesitant to make another one because I don't know why. But then a few days ago, so the beginning of this week, the last week of August, I decided that I wasn't going to fight it anymore. I would just go ahead and cut the Kalle. And boy, am I glad that I did, because this fabric is perfect for this Kalle. The pattern itself is a pattern I've made before. I've shared it here before. And as before, I sized down. I made a straight size 12, which is, I think, about 2 sizes below what I should be making for my full bust. But it is a very roomy design, and I think making it in a larger size would just drown me out. The only things I did differently this time, well, I did 2 things differently this time. I made the collar version, which I had made, well, the collar was stand. Previously, I had always made the band collar one. And I have to say that I love this collar with stand. It looks so cute. I didn't follow the instructions on the pattern. I used a different set of instructions from one of my books because I am forever looking for a better, neater way to finish collars, because maybe it's just me, but I can never get this part of the collar here, of the band that attaches to the inside of the shirt, but it's actually what shows when your collar is open. I can never get this to look right when you sew it in as an afterthought. So you sew the outside to the dress and then you just sort of finagle this by hand in there. I can never get that to look right. So for a while I've been trying this other technique where you sew the bands in the actual body of the shirt, or the dress in this case, as a sandwich, and then you attach the collar. This is difficult to explain, but it really makes sense once you're doing it. You attach the collar to the outside band, and then the bit that you do afterwards where you fold and stitch is actually the top of the band here, where you sew the inside band to the top collar and you top stitch. And if there's any interest in this, I am willing to do a tutorial because it's really hard to explain without actually showing. But what ends up happening is that this part here, which is the most visible part in a shirt or a shirt dress with a collar, is perfect. There are no weird tucks, there's no seams that show. It just looks great. And then you just have to be neat in how you attach this part here in the top part of the band, but that's easier and less visible than this front. So I did that. And then for the fronts, what the pattern has you do, it has you cut two fronts that are the same, and then for the right side where the buttonhole placket is, it has you cut off the center front and then sew a buttonhole placket on there. Now my fabric was very shifty, and before I even got to sewing, I had to recut one of the sides of the front sides because my fabric just shifted and I ended up with a weird shaped front. So I didn't want the extra headache of having to cut off the center front of the right and then sew on a placket. So what I did, long story short, was treat the right side with the buttonhole placket the same way that the pattern has you treat the left side with the button placket. And that is just add interfacing, fold twice, and top stitch. And it looks fine. And if you are not making the hidden buttonhole placket, there is no reason why you have to sew the buttonhole placket in rather than just did what I did. It makes your life easier. It looks neat. I'm good with it. Also, this time I didn't shorten the body of the shirt dress. The very first time that I made it in linen, and I shortened it 2 inches because I'm pretty short. And oh boy, in the last 3 years, it has gotten so much shorter than initially because it's linen and it shrinks, and rayon also shrinks. So I didn't want to end up with a dress that was really a tunic. So I cut it the full length. I love the length on the front. I do wish that the back was a little shorter, but I'm fine with that. It doesn't really bother me. And then I did an inverted box pleat because I find that the way that that drapes looks better on my body than a regular box pleat. But other than that, I followed the instructions pretty closely, says she, talking about different color instructions and different buttonhole plackets. But I love this pattern. It's really so forgiving. And it lends itself to a lot of fabrics. I've made this in linen, I've made this in tencel tulle twice, and I've made it in a shirting. Well, I've made the tunic in a shirting. And depending on your body type, one certain type of fabric might work better than the other. But it really, like, the possibilities are endless. I haven't added the pockets, even the patch pocket on the chest that the pattern has, any of the times I've made it because, I don't know, I'm lazy probably. But I love this shirt so much, and I love the color of the fabric, I love the weight, I love the drape. It's really so nice. And I don't know if you can see my buttons here, probably not. But when I first decided to make the Kalle in this fabric, I wanted to make cover buttons because I couldn't find any buttons in the garment district that went with my fabric. But when I started making the buttons, I realized that the kit was sometimes tearing the fabric around the button in such a way that the minute that I washed it, it would just fray. So I decided against that, and then I looked in my stash And I just happen to have these buttons that are a perfect match for this fabric. One other thing I will say about this fabric, it is strong, it is beautiful, the color is fantastic, the drape is great, but it is so delicate. It frays so much more than any other tinsel tool that I've worked with. It was just, I was afraid that by the time that I got to finishing the seams, I would have no fabric left. So if you do use this fabric, and I'll get to that in a moment, but if you do use this fabric, I recommend that you finish the seams first. Serge them, whatever you're gonna do to them first, and then sew. And also, if you so much as breathe on it wrong, the fabric will get a water stain that will only, not a stain, a water mark that will only come off in the wash. And I know this because when I was sewing, I got stains from the steam on it, and then I spilled soup on it. Well, it wasn't actually soup. I had a piece of bone that fell on the fabric and left a little grease stain, and I panicked because I was still sewing it. So I tried to get it off with some Dawn and some water, and that left a stain. So I just left the Dawn on the grease stain and finished sewing the whole thing, and then put it in the wash. And thankfully, the water stain and the grease stain were both gone. So all that is to say that the fabric is beautiful, but it's also very delicate. But listen, a lot of fabrics are delicate. A lot of fabrics require a lot of care. A lot of fabrics are a little finicky. But that should not be the thing that stops you from using a fabric that you love. Because all you really have to do is know your limitations and the limitations of the fabric and work with that. And also, like, maybe don't drink soup on your sewing desk. And I think that is all that I have for you today. It is already August 30th, so in like 2 days I have to start thinking about what I'm gonna make for September for the Mood Sewing Network. So I have my work cut out for me. For September, I will not let it get to the last minute. I'll try. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.